So this is going to be an oil change video for a 2025 Dodge Durango RT with a 5.7 liter hemi, which would apply also for any earlier 5.7 liters, which I think is from 2011 all the way up until this year. Vehicles in park, we put the parking brake on, pop the hood from the inside. Now we're going to expose our engine here. And something interesting that Chrysler started doing in these last recent years, they actually don't even put the engine covers on these engines anymore. They must have cheaped out and stopped making them or stopped supplying them. I don't know, but every car at the dealership we saw was like this. I guess it's just something that they're doing now to save money, which is kind of lame. When selecting my jack position, I'm going forward of this plate here where you can see this front ridge, and I'm putting a cloth underneath it to stop it from scratching up this cross member, because this thing is shiny and new and we don't want to damage that painted area underneath the car. And now we can safely jack it out like this. Get some jack stands underneath the car and get to work. I was also doing some research online and wanted to figure out which oil filter would be best. I know that Wick's is a great brand. I've always used them. The Mopar ones are pretty good too, and so is K&N. So I got one of each to kind of compare, see what these look like compared to the stock and factory one that's still on here. So once we get that off, we'll make that comparison and see which filter we're going to go with. All right, I've got my jack stands placed underneath structural parts of the body mount area. We're going to lower the car down to the jack stands. Okay, now what I like to do is just let the jack down a little bit and actually test the car, move the car around a little bit, give it a shake test. Make sure it's not gonna go anywhere before I get underneath it, because my life is depending on this right now. So now that we're good and safe, we can continue. You can see as we pull away the jack, using that microfiber towel protected this area here from getting all scratched up. And we don't want to scratch up Mopar Mama's new paint, because that ain't good. And when going underneath the car, you're gonna find your oil drain plug right here. Convenient location of the oil filter right above it. And it looks like it's a small one. So that's why I grabbed a number of different sizes, because I like to put a larger filter on there if I can, because in my own mind, the larger the filter, the more filter element, the greater the surface area pass through for the oil, the more filtration. I could be wrong about that, but still, the manufacturers have obviously done their due diligence in what they've tested here. We'll see if we can get away with a larger filter, but if not, I know I've got a few smaller examples and a couple larger ones. We'll try that out. So this is going to be a 13 millimeter, of course, not a 1/2 inch, because even though it's an American made car, it's Chrysler now and it's not. So 13 millimeter, this could be the first time this bolt is being cracked open. Hopefully when they originally broke this thing in at the factory, they did an oil change, but I don't really know what they do for factory procedures these days. So I don't know if they don't change the oil before it leaves the factory. But that's something maybe someone in the comments can educate me on. So this oil should be fresh and new still. So let's take a look. So, coming out. I can definitely see a lot of clarity still through the oil. It is honestly a little bit darker than I expected it to be, but it is still got some translucence so you can see through it. And that is all a good sign. Not seeing much for metals sticking down at the end of the drain plug at all, which is good. We're looking good right there. First oil change for Alex's 2025 Durango RT. Now with the angle of the driveway as this trickles off, I hope it doesn't start to catch and go that way onto this guard, because that's gonna make a real mess. But I think we're just gonna make it. Wipe down the drain plug, nice and clean, ready to go back in. Okay, and now we're gonna reinstall our drain plug and then get that oil filter off. Not too tight, just snug. It's aluminum into aluminum. We're not trying to strip or break anything. And it kind of seats nicely like that. And we give a good little wipe off. So this way there's no oil residue. Know that it's not leaking when you check on it again. All right, so now for this oil filter, I'm going to get my oil filter wrench up here and work this thing out. So hang on. Run into a small problem. My oil filter wrenches are all too big because these filters are kind of small. So I'm trying to get this thing off by hand, and I think I'm getting it, but it's really hard to tell. So check back in here in a second. Well, I went and got some grippier gloves, and I'm now succeeding in getting this bad boy to rotate. So, victory for that. There we go. Nice. There we go. Cool. And if the grippier gloves didn't work out, I was thinking also sticking this leather glove kind of in here inside to take up some of the diameter and make it smaller essentially. But that's definitely something to note, that you're going to want either some grippy gloves, or you need to get a smaller oil filter wrench, because it looks like these smaller oil filters that I got, like the K&N, the Wix, and the Mopar ones, are the size that is what's on the car. We're going to get this oil filter coming down. And yeah, of course, it's getting on that cover. It's what I did want to happen, but what are you gonna do? Okay, there we go. Coming out. And there's our factory filter. The oil inside seems to be still pretty happy. All good signs. And we'll get a little cleanup on aisle 3 here in a minute, but let's go compare this to the new filters that we bought. All right guys, so here is the original oil filter that we just pulled off straight from the factory, and it is a 048923339BE, or a 500 57786, whichever one you would be reading it from. And the one that we got here, which is great because this one I was able to get at O'Reilly's. I saw these at Walmart, AutoZone, they're all around. The MO339 is the same exact part number as the factory one. So we know this is the exact oil filter that came on it from factory. I'm sure we'd be absolutely fine putting this back on here. Alternatively, I grabbed this one, the same size diameter of O-ring. However, you can see that the body is significantly larger in diameter, and I don't think it's gonna fit up there, but we can put it up there and give it a test. Because if that doesn't fit into that little aluminum body that houses it kind of around the oil filter, then it's just going to be too large. But that would give us a little bit more filtration over surface area in my imagination. To our left is the K&N HP 1017. This one also appears to be just like the factory, same size thread pitch and O-ring and all that stuff right there, which would also work. I think this was like $16. The Mopar one was about $11. The Wix was about $13, and this K&N was $16. You can see that this Wix one looks pretty much identical to the factory ones in the way that they're looking from the top. So I always know that Wix has been a great brand too. So we could either go with Wix, that K&N would probably be good too, or the Mopar. But in my opinion, probably gonna go with Wix from here on out, just because I love Wix. I think the Mopar ones have also been tested to be pretty good. Project Farm, Oil Geek Guy, there's a lot of great channels that do a lot of really good testing. I'm not doing any testing here. I'm just providing you guys some information for this 2025 Durango, which of course shares the same 5.7 liter Hemi as pretty much all of, I think, the 2011 and up Durangos, and even your trucks and Chargers and Challengers. I mean, it's 5.7 liters, 5.7 liter, but maybe there's a difference obviously with the way that the oil filter housing is. So that little area right up here is going to kind of dictate how large of the diameter we can fit in oil filters, as I said before. I'm going to test with this Mopar one first, because it's a little bit less expensive if I mess it up, and see if this larger one will actually fit. It wouldn't fit though, because the thread was not the same size. So upon a little bit of a closer inspection, it looks like the thread size is actually a little bit smaller on this Mopar one. So that one is not going to work out for us at all, because we know that the overall body and diameter of what we just tried up there would work. Let's take a look and see. I'm not sure if it is the same deal or not. Upon closer inspection with my eye micrometer, it does look like this opening diameter is actually smaller than what I originally thought. So this larger body Wix is not going to work. So yeah, we're just going to go with the OE size filter, because that's what was on there. And again, whether we go with the Wix brand or the Mopar 339, and again, this Wix is a 57060. should be doing great for this car. Quick little cleanup right here. All this oil that came off, cleaned up. And now we're gonna kiss the oil filters. We're gonna get that O-ring on the new filter lubricated, so this way when we go to take this thing off for our next change, it's nice and easy to do that. So you can see it's lubricated and we'll get this thing hand tight. Quick little reference for us for next time, 14 January 2025 with 2231 miles on the car. Let's get it in. Threading on our new filter. Nice. Okay, and we are getting this thing hand tight so we can get it off again the next time. Nice. Okay, that does it. New oil filter is installed. Oil has been dropped. Now we can add in our new oil. All right, let's pull our dipstick and clear it off so we can get ourselves new oil going in and a fresh reading. We'll put in our new oil. Now this one, I could definitely be ballsy and go for precision pour. I'd probably get it, but there's also a chance I don't, and I don't want to get oil all over Alex's brand engine, so we're gonna get a funnel and just be a little bit more precise about this. Always give the funnel a good wipe out before using it. And we're gonna go with our new oil. Nice. Okay, let's see where we're at with that first fill. We are not showing up on a dipstick yet. So let's continue adding oil. I didn't pre-fill the oil filter, so that is also going to account for some oil, but as you saw, it's a smaller filter than I'm used to seeing, so maybe like a half a quart at the most, pint or two, it's pretty tiny. Okay, now we are on the dipstick in the operating zone with that 7. So let's get it cranked up, let the oil run through for a second, the oil filter fill up, and then we can check one more time. Let the oil circulate around. Now we can get our final fill on the dipstick. So as we go to check it right now, we should be lower than previously. And you can see that we are probably about the lower quarter of the dipstick reading. I'm pretty surprised at how much oil this engine's taken. We're already at like 7 quarts. I figured it would be maybe 6 at most. Decent amount of oil in this thing. And full on the dipstick. Got a good reading right there. So that's gonna work out for us. We are accomplished here on this oil change. So hopefully that helps anyone looking to do an oil change on their Dodge Durango. Yeah, as you can see, it used on the second 5-quart jug right here down to the 2. So that meant that we used 1, 2, 3. So yeah, a total of 8 quarts of oil on this thing. That was actually a lot more than I expected. Also gonna do an oil change on this beast tonight because it's about that time. Old 24 valve. Nice and warm from running earlier, but it's not ultra hot. So this thing's pretty simple to do too. You've got the oil filter right down here. Obviously we'll fill up top and that'll be it, guys. So heck yeah. And we've got more to come with our Charger too. I've got to get the brake drums pulled off. We're gonna see if we can't resurface those. And if we can, I'm gonna keep those original ones and actually get them taken down to a machine shop. If not, we've got some new ones, but we're gonna get the whole brake system redone on this car here very soon. So stay tuned, guys. One final thing, we're gonna reset our oil life here. So you're gonna hit the button twice, not get the car started, but get over to the run position. Then come over here to OK, and we can clear the oil life. And now it's at 100%. And now, once we go off here and crank the car back up, now we should be displaying 100% on our vehicle oil life, and we are. Sweet. All right, guys, that does it. Sweet. All right, thanks you guys. I'll see you on the next one.